Hey, what's going on, MFM podcast listeners? This is Dallas Pruitt. I spend most Thursdays with you every single week. And before we dive into today's episode, I just wanted to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. Eat up that time with loved ones. Time and attention. Those are two of the most valuable resources that we have. Use them wisely today. And just super grateful for you, not just during this season, but all year round. And again, happy Thanksgiving.
Multifamily Mindset
Podcast. Think bigger.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, whatever time of day today finds you. I hope you're doing well. And I am super grateful that you're here on the podcast with us once again. Here on Thursday episodes on the MFM podcast, we dive into the mental side, the mental game that is growing your best self and doing this thing of multifamily, growing the business, out there in the arena doing. It can be very difficult, and it becomes even more difficult when our minds get out of our control. When we don't have that thing dialed in, it becomes even harder. It's already hard enough, but when we aren't at our best cognitively, optimally in our mindset and just our overall mental fitness, it can be a lot tougher. And so what I do on Thursdays is I hope to be able to share tools with you so that you can add to your toolkit, so that you can go out and better perform mentally, better perform physically, and do more of the right things that you need to be doing to be able to grow and enhance your business and your life. So, super grateful to have you. And on today's episode this week, it's really for those who are out there listening today and are very driven to achieve more and more and more and more, which is something that I can very much relate with. Growth really is the goal. I'm a very growth-focused, growth-oriented human being. It is a drive that I have inside of me to achieve. But what I have learned is that it can really come at an expense, at a cost, if I'm not careful, and if you're not careful. One of those costs is burnout. There's a lot of costs, but one of them is burnout, and it's real. And it's something that I have experienced on numerous occasions during different seasons of my life. And maybe you have as well. Maybe you have a time or two. I'm assuming you have. Maybe you're on the verge of it right now. I am not sure where your journey finds you at this exact point, but I can assure you that if you haven't experienced it, you will experience it at some point in your journey, in your life, in your career. So the aim of today's podcast episode is to help you build some awareness of what to watch out for, as well as help you deepen your skill set with some practical things that you can do to help yourself stay the course for the long game, for the long haul. And with this being said, I'm going to kind of go through a list. I got 7 things here today that I'm going to share with you. And these are why we as achievers struggle with burnout at times. So in no particular order, I'm going to go through these things. Number 1 is we really struggle with saying no. Productivity becomes somewhat of a symbol of success for us, a badge of honor, if you will. And by refusing, it feels like we're admitting failure or incompetence. I can remember a time in my career where I accepted a position, where I accepted a responsibility for the fact that I was telling myself in my head, like, look, I know this is not what I'm supposed to be doing, but it's a challenge and I can conquer this. I can figure this out. And by saying yes to that particular opportunity, it really caused a delay in my forward progression with the overall vision for my life and my career. I learned a lot, and I don't regret, things that have happened since or even that moment, but it was a good reminder for me as I looked back and reflected that saying no is a good thing. And as achievers, we can really struggle with that at times, something to be very aware of. Number 2 is we don't make the time to celebrate wins. These wins that we accrue across throughout the course of our journey. Even when we achieve something, oftentimes we are quick to shift our focus to the next goal. And I'm very guilty of this. I fall victim to this disease, if you will, of, the next mountain, the next goal, the next achievement. And it's a problem. This constant drive without pausing for celebration, it has a technical name. The technical name is moving target syndrome, meaning always pushing for more without acknowledging progress. It's something as a person who is very driven to achieve, you must be aware of. It can become very problematic, and it will deprive you of a lot of joy and happiness, which are now part of my definition of success, true success, along your journey. Number 3 is we have a tendency to prioritize results over everything else. Nothing else matters. Your health, your relationships, often these are the 2 first things to be sacrificed at the expense of achieving something in the professional space. Yet if the work gets done, we justify it to ourselves. Maintaining balance, if you will, or rather what I like to say is harmony, right? Creating that harmony becomes a continuous struggle because of this need to this perceived need to prioritize results over everything else. Again, increasing our level of awareness and looking out for this, because that can be very problematic. It's not that results don't matter. Results do matter, as does your health and the relationships and those priorities in your life. And it's working in a manner and in a system and operating so that all 3 of these things are priorities. 4, we avoid asking for help. It's something that I'm extremely guilty of, and I've paid the price. I've been that person who suffered in silence and not spoke up about struggles, real problems. And because we're so solution-focused, solution-oriented, we feel it scary or problematic to bring up the need for some help at times. There's a belief that, you must be the one to handle everything on your own. It's a belief that I've fell victim to a time or two in my life. And it can really feel like a sign of weakness, which it is not, but it can feel like a sign of weakness to ask for that help, even though in reality, the truth is asking for help is often a strength. It's a good thing. So, something to be aware of. Number 5 is we don't know how to truly rest. We're constantly on. I remember telling my wife at times in my life that I can't turn my brain off. It never stops. And it was an actual pain. And it was almost a plea for help. Whether at work or at home, our mind is constantly racing. And oftentimes it's actually outside of the place we're actually in. So when we're at work, we're thinking about home, and when we're at home, we're thinking about work, and it's this vicious cycle. And this leaves us just absolutely drained. There are 7 different types of rest necessary to be able to perform better, to perform at a higher level, but most people ignore these 7 different types of rest, and they're crucial. As you graduate to new levels of life, new levels of the growth of your business, rest becomes just absolutely crucial. Number 6 is we don't define what the long-term vision is for what we're working towards. While we can handle the daily tasks really well, sometimes what happens is we neglect the bigger goals. And this leads to feelings of dissatisfaction, lacking clarity on why you're doing what you're doing or what your true purpose is. This can become very, very problematic. It will be very problematic for you. And then number 7 is bottling up your emotions. I am super guilty of this. Allowing yourself to feel. We have a tendency to prioritize how others view us, how others perceive us, over being real and authentic. I've went through a complete crash course in my life over the past couple years where life has really just come at me in such a way where I finally had no other option than to embrace the realness of everything. And it became too taxing, too dissatisfying, and unenjoyable to hide those parts of myself outwardly to the public. And I have found that there is a better way, and it takes a lot of courage to be able to get to that other side, but prioritizing how you are viewed and living in that what I call FOPO, fear of other people's opinions, it's a really bad place to be. And it will dilute your achievements. It will dilute real impact, a broader impact that you can have in your industry, in the world, and the people's lives of those you surround yourself with every day. A lot of the times, achievers are skilled at suppressing feelings and escaping them or escaping from them because it's just, let's just face it, it's way easier. It's way easier than facing those things head on. But I can tell you that the truth truly does set you free. The freedom we all seek, it really is on the other side of authenticity and living in the real. And being who you are, wherever you are, all the time. It's become something that I want more of, that I'm striving to do, and just not fall victim to that FOPO that can settle in, that fear of other people's opinions. And I have found massive joy, enhanced levels of success, true success, and fulfillment and impact on the other side of embracing that. And so, again, these are the 7 things to look for. I've kind of just summarized each, but I want to go through really quick just to review bullet by bullet. If burnout is something you want to not experience as often and you would like to avoid, pay attention to these things. Look for them in your own process in your own life. Be aware that these will produce burnout if you continue to deliver on them. Struggling to say no when you need to say no. Not taking the time to celebrate your wins along the way. Prioritizing results over everything else. Over everything else. Avoiding asking for help. Not getting proper rest. Losing track of the long-term vision, or just not taking the time to define that out over what it is, what the aim is over the long haul, over the long term. And then bottling up your emotions. Again, I hope you, as always, were able to grab something of high value today. My goal every single episode is to help you add more tools to your toolkit, to your mental toolkit, to your performance toolkit, so you can go out and not only achieve more of what it is you feel called to accomplish and what it is you're striving to do and make the type of impact that you're striving to make, but also so that you can experience a whole lot more joy and happiness during that process. I've learned that both of those things are possible. In fact, true success is bound with joy and impact and significance. And so, yeah, I care about you and the results you want and care about, but I also care about your overall well-being. And my hope is that today's episode gives you those tools so that you can go out and experience both of those things. My friends, as always, thanks for joining us here on the podcast. Grateful to have you as a part of this Think Bigger, Live Better community here at MFM, and we will see you guys back here on the podcast again next time.
Multifamily Mindset
Podcast. Think bigger.